Thank you, Dean Guthrie, for that kind introduction. I have a question for the audience. Have you ever had a conversation, that singular conversation in your life that changed everything for you? You know, this is a question that I like to ask my students because when you ask it, you get the most amazing answers. They're very telling answers. Because typically, all of us have had one of those kind of conversations before that completely radically changed the way that we looked at the world. And when you ask someone this question, in the answer they reveal a lot about themselves. They tell you something about the people that have been or are important to them. They tell you something about the challenges that they've faced. And they tell you something about a time in their lives when they began to look at the world in a very new way, through new eyes. That one conversation, or even set of conversations. When I became Associate Dean just a couple of months ago in the winter, I was very much inspired by Dean Guthrie's message about we need to be thinking about how to better embed GW within DC and bring DC to GW. It needs to be more of an organic relationship. I was also very much inspired as I began to learn more and more about the challenges facing Ward 8 and asking the question, how might we engage in this very important quest? So I started conversations. I started conversations with our students. I started conversations with people in Ward 8. I started conversations with our amazing staff at GW. And we began to put together a program that was centered on two things: networking and mentoring, essentially conversations. And we call this program, which is very much in its pilot and development phase, the 2+2 mentoring program. Now, why 2+2? Well, we begin at the very heart with which is most important, focusing on Anacostia High School students facing so many challenges in the economy today. And that's where we get the 2. Thinking here about, we're in the selection process of these students, but the students that we've met, that we've talked to, we're thinking, for example, of Alonzo Trabon, who is a junior who is also on the football team. Or we're thinking about Vanessa Noble, who is second in her class at the high school. These are the kinds of students that we'd like to bring to the table and engage in conversations with, say, for example. This is actually a picture of one of our GWMBA, Cordell Olive, who has come to the table to start to talk about our mentor program. Here is another volunteer on our task force, Michael Battaglia, who is also a GWMBA student. He's also an operations manager for our International Small Business Council. The idea here is that we would pair this representative from the business and policy community as well as a GW student, in this case an MBA student. We also have undergraduate students in a mentoring team that would then work with, in conversation, our Anacostia High School students to be a 2+2 mentoring team. Now, I'm very much, in all full disclosure, here in sort of a commercial mode, because this is a pilot, this is a basic structure that we've put together. But we are not going to be successful in this endeavor if we aren't able to scale up these 2x2 teams, these teams of 4. And that's where you come in. I'm hoping that in my conversation with you here today, as well as hopefully at the breaks, to engage with you in a dialogue and hopefully motivate you to help us and join this conversation, to be one of those business partners like Cordell Olive that's willing to give of their time in this mentorship program, or those of you who are students, either in our undergraduate or MBA program, to be like Michael Battaglia and come to the table and start conversations with us. And for those of you working in Anacostia who have children in high school, know someone in high school, please go out and encourage them to learn more about and participate in this program, because it will only be successful if we're able to bring these people together in conversation, 2 by 2 teams. The program that we've started to put together consists of a monthly meeting, some of which will take place here on GW's campus, and some of which will actually take place at Anacostia High School. We'll be alternating the locations. These events begin with a workshop on several different topics, things like financial literacy, entrepreneurship, leadership. But then we break and we come back and spend the rest of the time in the meeting working with our young people to help develop a professional development plan aimed specifically at high schoolers, but based on many rich components that help the students in conversation with their mentors as well as with other very important people in their lives to help to get to know themselves better personally and professionally, and begin to lay out a path for what's next for them in their lives, both personally and professionally. This will include getting them job ready for internships and eventual jobs, and hopefully on their academic careers as well. We are, as part of this mentorship process, we also very much are looking for business owners and operators and employers who are willing to offer internships to students that progress through this program. We already have several internships lined up. For example, Williams Adley, which is the organization that Cordell Olive actually works for, has already offered to hire several of these students that work through our program in internships. So we are also looking for internships from those of you in the community for these young people, as well as community service projects. We couldn't have gotten this conversation started if it wasn't for so many amazing people that have come to the table. I can't call it a task force, it's more like a legion of people who have actually come to the table to start the process of putting this project into place. GW's students are a very amazing and inspirational bunch. In our MBA program, for example, our students tell me all the time they've come to get MBA knowledge and skills to go out and make the world a better place. And this mentorship program is a beautiful place for them to really put those values and goals into action by sharing the knowledge that they've gotten in the program, whether they be an MBA student or an undergraduate student, but put it into practice out in the community. So we could not have begun this conversation if it wasn't for amazing students like Amir Abdullah and his financial literacy program, or Scott Reckler, one of our MBA students whose nonprofit Learn Serve International is already working in DC public schools teaching about social entrepreneurship. I certainly couldn't do this without GW faculty willing to dedicate their time. Faculty like Vanessa Perry from our marketing department, or Dr. Ayman El-Tarabishi from our management department, who will be some of our guest speakers as well as mentors in the program. Our staff is incredibly passionate about this, so much so that many of them are not only dedicating their evening hours but weekends to this endeavor as well. I have to absolutely thank Rhonda Secor, who is the leader of this program, and her team, Adrian Jones-Bird and Margaret Lauterbach, who have begun to put this very large team of people together. Our DCPS partners have been incredibly helpful, coming to the table with us, helping us design what are the topics, what are the issues that we need to bring to the table in our professional development program. And we are very thankful for them. And as well, our business and local community partners that we're hoping to bring to the table to help us in this project. Again, this is where the conversation gets started. We're hoping that you'll come and join us and start these very inspirational conversations with these young people. again, going back to the very beginning, it's that conversation, that one conversation that's possible to really change a person's life, to help them look at the challenges that they're facing with new eyes. And as everyone in the room knows, these young people have an awful lot to teach us also about the world in which we're living, the challenges that they face, and to brainstorm with us ways to make a difference and turn and really turn the tide and look at the world with new eyes. Thank you very much.
So before you leave, Chair's prerogative, I want to ask a quick question. So it seems to me when you first talked to me about this that of course it's incredibly important that young people see the career trajectories of where they can be and sort of dream a different dream. What kind of scale would you like to see of this? Like if you had your dream of how big you wanted this to be, what are you hoping for?
I think in this very first pilot year, what I think we would really like to see in the first pilot year is 10 teams of 4.
Okay.
And I think that it's important for this first year to keep the conversation.
So that's 20 kids.
That's 20 kids.
Okay.
10 business and policy community volunteers and 10 student volunteers.
And 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I'd like to see that 5-fold.
Okay. Good enough. Thank you very much, Liesl.